So tomorrow, the very first episode of the super highly anticipated Freeform series Cruel Summer is coming to Freeform. You play Vince Fuller. What do you want viewers to know about Vince before we see him on screen? What is he like as a character?
Mm, Vince is definitely somebody you're gonna love. He's definitely pure. He's definitely a friend that everyone wants to have in their life. Maybe the friend that, people take for granted sometimes. So I think that they're definitely gonna get to see, someone like that. If that's not something that they have around normally, it's definitely refreshing.
I can totally see that. I
Yeah.
also that's something a lot of people can relate to, which is really, really nice. How is he
Yeah,
like?
yeah, definitely.
Tell me more like about
I'm
you as a friend.
how Vince is as a friend. I think, man, what I mean by like everyone, needs a friend like Vince, it's like it's just in his DNA to just be loyal and just to stick by, his pure side, people his loved one sides, like no matter what. It's not a question for him, whether or not he believes, something that Jeanette says or Mallory says, and even down to, these characters, their journeys, you find that there are different relationships and friendships and, that happen, that occurred throughout the season. And even, at times where maybe his best of friends don't even get along with each other. He never chooses a side. He's always the one who's trying to get people to see, like, okay, like this is stupid. Can we just move on from this and like move forward? You know what I mean? He's the mediator, definitely. That's his personality type right there.
I love that. He's
Yeah.
the balance. That's really cool. Something that I think
Yeah.
is so interesting about this series is it isn't really a straightforward timeline. Instead, it takes place 3 days after this traumatic event that happened, jumping back and forth through that different years and that different timeline. How does this timeline affect the story?
I think that it's so interesting. This timeline and jumping back and forth allows room for, things like changes and, because while you're shooting, you start to realize like, okay, this actually makes more sense here. And this, from episode 6, what if we put that in like episode like 4 and then put this from 4, and you move these pieces around. And I think it changes the story entirely. And you start to understand like, how these things play out. And an interesting part of jumping like from year to year to me, and if like it's going to be really fun for the audience, is knowing things about these characters that they've yet to discover about themselves. Because you're going to see a character in 95 and then like you're gonna see them in 93 and they have no idea where they're headed, because you might see them in 95 and you're like, what happened to you, bro? You know what I mean? Or like you're like, wow, you glowed up or something, you never know. And then you just wonder what that journey was like. And I think the 3 years just makes it all the more better and all the more fun, and like adds to that like detective sort of like, experience that the audience is gonna like be able to like, be a part of. And yeah, it's great. It's always great for me, a good feeling like and fun when you know something about a character like in a movie or on a TV show that they don't know about themselves. It's like it's really cool. And it like, because you feel like you're in on something. And then like when they find out, it's like your friend actually finding out about something. You're like, I knew, I told you, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. It's really dope. The changing years. It's really unique to me. It's like new. I don't know. I haven't really, I'm trying to think right now. Oh, I maybe like one, but I haven't really, seen anything lately that's like this. So yeah.
100%. I think that's a really unique narrative that you don't really see a lot. Maybe it'll become more common like through this, but it's really, really interesting. How would you
Right.
describe the plot of this series in your own words?
I would say, well, Cruel Summer is a show I feel like where no one is necessarily guilty in the sense that these are all just teenagers making decisions, and it just so happens that one decision, kind of snowballs into another. And I think when someone who doesn't know anything about the show or like might watch the show might just jump to conclusion about things and, probably, pass judgment or like hold judgment on certain characters. But I think remembering that they are teenagers kind of reminds you, that like, wow, we can't really, put anything on anyone, because like how do they even know what they're doing is wrong? They're just living teenage lives and just doing things. They have no idea how their decisions like impact like the world around them or like the people around them. Like in Jeanette Turner's case, for instance, she just wants to be pretty and popular and cool, but she has no idea that like going after that has caused this other person like so much pain, and then like confusion even like with her relationship with Jamie, for Gutierrez's character, Jamie, her love interest, and like all these things is, it's, I don't know, it's really amazing to see. But yeah, I'll definitely say that for sure.
Without giving too much away, tell me a little bit how Vince plays into all this thrill, this madness.
Oh man, Vince plays into a lot of this in the sweetest sense. I feel like he doesn't have too much to do, and not that he doesn't care. He's just so one of those people who are just so, far removed from like just like drama, especially by the year 95. There are events that like happen, throughout the season, like in 93 and 94, especially, that like by 95, when you see him and his exact like opposite of like, this like nerdy, like goofy, like, you know what I mean, kid that he was, and you see him and he's like this like sort of like serious like dude, and you're kind of just like, what happened? And I think, man, dude, Vince through all these years and like, being a part of this journey, I feel like a big part of his journey has nothing to do with what these girls are going through. You know what I mean? There are things. Oh man, I can't wait for people to see this show. It's gonna be so cool. There are things that these characters go through, more than, this drama, this, legal case, or whatever is happening. You know what I mean? There's more than that, and I think Vince's story specifically is gonna be one that definitely, sits with people. Resonates with a lot of people, and people who don't even, relate to it are, just gonna be kind of caught off guard and sort of like, struck and just like in love with like this idea that like, this person who kind of has, everyone's back, also has like these beautiful pieces to him, and like, he's more than just like the best friend. He's someone who has gone through a lot, and he's gone through all these things, which is why he has the ability to be as patient as he is, and to be the rock for all these people who, don't necessarily know what the hell they're doing. They're just in all this drama. And I think Vince is such a refreshing face to see, where he's just like, finally, like somebody who, you know what I mean, like isn't gonna like piss me off this episode. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. That's fun. It's fun to play someone like that. Someone like warm and nice that people will appreciate and not like hate.
Oh my God, we could never hate him. You have such a you have such a brilliant perspective on your character, which I really think is fantastic, and I feel like that's really going to convey onto the screen that you know him so
uh,
well. What was it like to play a character who went on such an emotional journey? You said he starts out, bright and lively, and then he gets to a point where he's very serious. What was it like to play that, and how did you really convey that change?
man, one, playing that alone, two, like in 3 different years, I just feel like, wow, it was such a challenge, but it's really fun because you develop a relationship with these characters like they're like friends, like they're people that you know. You know what I mean? Because there's so much to them. And I think just like a lot of friends that I have, there's so many like things where like, I don't know, I like Vince is so much nicer than I, in the sense that just like, man, I would have caught on to like just like being, I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't think it is, but I feel like at some point he realizes that he does more and like kind of looks out for himself more than anyone looks out. You know what I mean? Like for for Vince, people are so caught up in what's happening that they forget that like, wow, Vince has his own secrets, and like Vince has, all these traumas that are kind of recent, that you like find out, and um yeah, things like that. But I think getting to know Vince and having to make choices for him as him was difficult, because I'm like, man, if this were me in this situation, like I would have, a long time ago would have been like, yo, like I know, like like you weren't there for me or just any other. But I think Vince is just such a, he looks past that and maybe doesn't even consider those things to be what they are. I think he's just like, well, like I love you, so I got your back, even if you have no idea that I'm like going through this like crazy identity crisis and I can't tell these people about it, because X, Y, and Z, like, you know what I mean? I still got you. And like, I don't know, that's what makes him really special and like really stand out like from, everyone else. Like, you know what I mean? That's like a unique quality about him, I feel like, is like his like ability to just like move on from a situation and like not, dig deeper into it for the sake of like just keeping love alive, I guess, and the connection like just sort of, where it is, not like burning those bridges. Cause like what's the point?
It's that
Yeah.
separation of the character that makes it so brilliant. What was your process like
Yeah.
preparing for this role in this series?
Mm, it's a lot of we received many playlist 90s playlist. We watched like some movies and stuff like that. I have like older siblings who were, born like and like lived through these times and stuff like that. And all those things like played into it. But I think, the creatives and like the producers and directors and writers, they all have such great memories from this time. And I think that they trusted us with these memories and they trusted us with these funny stories, embarrassing stories, sad stories, and they trusted that we were gonna.
How did this role differ from your previous roles, like in Chicago PD and Rosewood? What was this change like going to an all new genre?
Wow. Well, it was definitely different in the sense I feel like I had more responsibility with this role. You have a responsibility with every, character you bring to life and like to the screen, but with this one specifically, this being such a huge start for me and like, a break for I guess my career as you would like put it. Right. I think this role differs because, I got the freedom to create so much more to this person that wasn't just for the sake of the advancement of someone else's story. He has this long journey ahead of him just as everyone else does on the show, and I think it was fun for me and definitely challenging to do that much more work on the character and to develop that much more of like his own identity separate from my own, and not getting the lines crossed there and like stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. I didn't. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, that's definitely how I like um just sort of think about that.
Absolutely. I totally see that.
Yeah.
What about this project did you find the most challenging, and what about it did you find the most fulfilling?
Um, the most challenging part of this project is definitely not being biased. You know what I mean? Because like we know each other in real life, and we're friends in real life. Like, and to bring that to the screen to like have to like scratch all of that, you know what I mean, and like apply not our real lives but like our characters relationships to one another was definitely the hardest because like I don't know, it's kind of hard like when you get along with people so well, it's kind of hard to like intentionally like not get along with them. I don't know, things like that. um but yeah, the 3 years, that was a challenge, like having to not only tell someone's story but to keep it up for 3 years and to make those 3 years like you know to clearly show that like okay, these characters have gone through things in between these summers, they have seen some things and they've learned some things about themselves. That was definitely challenging, but I think the most fulfilling was the amount of like wisdom that I walked away from this show with. Like, I feel like I learned so much from the producers, from the actors, like my peers. I learned so much. I'll say from Kiara Aurelia, definitely. I learned a lot from her. That girl's so talented, man, and just such a hard worker. Her work ethic is beyond anything I've seen, like working with anyone, honestly. And I don't know, just for her to be who she is, she's a teenage girl herself, playing a teenager. I have a couple years on her, but for her to, kind of drop some wisdom on me and just constantly remind me to just trust in my ability, as an actor, was like really amazing because I'm like, man, it's just like the show. Like, we're just learning things. Like, like the adults are learning things from the kids are learning things from the adults. Like, I don't know, things like that. It's definitely awesome to walk away from something such a long journey with like wisdom, if anything, you know what I mean? Like something that's going to take you into, your next chapter, like in life. So yeah, I think they definitely helped me with that. I've learned so much about myself as a human being, even, aside from like the craft. So yeah.
I love to hear that because when you learn from the experience, it shows on screen. I think it really does with you. Um,
Yeah.
what about the series are you most excited for viewers to see?
I'm excited for the viewers to see the levels and the different ranges. I'm excited for the viewers to see the ranges that these actors are able to like really jump in and out of. It's so incredible. And you get a show like this, and there's a popular girl, there's a nerdy girl, there's a creepy principal, there's the whatever. And you're just gonna assume that they're gonna come off as like this nerdy girl. Okay, she reads this nerdy. That's all she is. She's popular. She must be mean. The principal guy is creepy, but like no, there's so many different things about these people and so many different elements that these actors brought to these characters that didn't just make them just that. You know what I mean? Just fit like a specific like caricature, whatever the word is. Like they're not just playing a specific like type or like way. These are real human beings who, although make these decisions and go through these things, like they're normal people. Like Martin Harris, like he's does all these creepy things, but at the same time, when you see him for the first time, you're like, it's a handsome young guy who lives in a nice house, and he's the assistant principal at this new school in this new town. He's like a charming guy, but then you find out that he's like a creep, which is like interesting. That's what I'm most excited for people to see, is like just like the levels and just the surprises that are just around the corner that you have no idea, because there's so many things about these characters that you have no idea about that you find out, and then you're like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, or like, what's going on? So, yeah.
That's what makes such a great series, that active suspense. So last but
Mm.
certainly not least, what's up next for you? What can we expect to see from you in the future?
Man, I can only say that I hope to see you guys around for another season of Cruel Summer. What happens in between time, in the meantime, I can only continue to live my life as a human being, and I think that's what makes me the artist that I am today. Is just as an actor, your work when you're not working, because you have to find fulfillment outside of just being on set all the time, because there are times when you're not on set. And I think what's beautiful as an actor is like the biggest like assignment you can give yourself is just learning to be fulfilled with life in itself. And I think life is my job, and like my job is to just continue to like have experiences, and I think those experiences are literally what take me into like my next jobs, because I come across these experiences and I have these encounters, and like before you know it, some of the things that I just like went through personally, it's so crazy. You'll get a project that comes around, and then you're like, wow, I just kind of experienced that, and like I know what that feels like, and I know what this character is going through. And like 2 + 2 = 4, and those things sometimes they happen and they fall through, and then like so all you can do as an actor, honestly, if there's anyone out there who wants to do this, or like is looking for advice, or looking for advice on how to just feel fulfilled, I think the greatest fulfillment you can have as an actor is to like just really enjoy your life, man, and enjoy the journey and enjoy the process, and just don't allow yourself to stop feeling things, I guess, and continue to like feel everything, like feel the world around you, the emotions, what everyone else is going through, the changes in the environment, everything. Like just go through those things and don't neglect or try to like suppress them, and just live your life and live your life like it's golden. For real.
Absolutely. That is the most beautiful perspective. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And I can't wait to
thank you
watch
so
tomorrow.
much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sydney.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Oh my gosh. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Enjoy it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sydney.
you too. Bye bye.
Bye, guys. Have a
Bye.